Good evening, everybody. I want to just see if people can post into the chat. I know that I did not schedule this live, but that's because it's breaking news and I wanted to bring it to you. I also wanted to cover some of the things that were happening just over the last few hours, and I wanted to share them with you. So if anybody is out there that happens to get this notification, if you could drop a just something into the chat here, I would appreciate that. Um, Maybe just tell me where you are watching from. I think the message is just going out now. I just got to click on it on my own. So here come some people now. Good. Glad to hear and see this. So there are a lot of things that have been happening over the last few days. I wanted to share some of that and catch up with you. Those that were on locals may have seen me. I just did a live over there. I wanted to bring it over here to Facebook, regardless of the shadow banning. I also wanted to bring it to our YouTube channel and others. So I just appreciate all of you joining. Um, let's start out with last week, Friday. Tudor Dixon chose her running mate, which is Shane Hernandez. She did a press release about it, talked about Shane. And the one thing that I had over all this last weekend was, who is Shane Hernandez? Many of us, many people in this grassroots organization have just got involved in the process. They weren't involved in politics a long time, and they really wanted to know, who he is. Who is this pick? I don't recognize the name, and what did he do? And then I see all the things out on social media, which, as you know, is just a disaster, even here on Facebook, as you all know. So I wanted to come on because that's what we do. We care for people, but we inform you. And when I say inform, it is really important that we inform you with truthful information. When I say truthful, that means accurate. A lot of the things that you see on social media are either something that someone else heard and they share, or it's something that someone puts out there that is misinformation, maybe on purpose or by mistake, meaning I'm hearing this is true. I'm going to put it out there. This is what I hear and I believe who told me, whatever it is. Our job at Stand Up Michigan is let's go to the source as closely as possible and get the information and find out what's really accurate and what isn't. And so in this case, um, as we did with the governor interviews only 5 weeks before, we found out that so many people in Michigan didn't know any of these people. So we decided the best thing we could do and should do is ask them to all do interviews. And you all, a lot of you participated in that, and 150,000 almost of you watched those 5 interviews, or parts of those 5 interviews, I should say. And so it's really important, we thought, to go right back to the same concept. And so I called Shane Hernandez and asked him if he would join me and do an interview with me, and within about 24 hours, he agreed, and we scheduled it for today. So I'm on here to tell you that we just completed an interview at about 6 o'clock tonight. It is being processed and uploaded right now. And as soon as I'm done with this, I will post it on all of these pages. I will also post a link in the comments of this video when I'm done. And you will be able to go there and listen to about a 40-minute interview on everything from his background, his upbringing, his time in the legislature, what he does in the private life, and most importantly, to answer the questions that people have been asking and to get to the core or the source of that information. In other words, where did he stand on the 2020 election? Where does he stand on pro-life? I've heard this. He was not necessarily a Trump supporter. You can kind of go on and on with where people are. Is it really grassroots or isn't he? So I wanted to be able to go there and get that information directly for you. So the first thing that I want to share with you all is that during this process, and I mentioned this over on locals, but it all hadn't happened yet. Now it has. So I'm going to share it with you. Um, I had said to each of the campaigns, especially when Tudor got the President Trump endorsement, I had asked her ahead of her getting that endorsement, where she was going to go when she needed to surround herself with people and staff and even a lieutenant governor, because people were throwing out names, if you remember, who was going to be our lieutenant governor. Turned out that was not factual information. Not only wasn't factual information, but was misinformation being put out by people within the other candidates, whatever it is, in order to keep an endorsement from happening. That to me isn't fair to you. It's not fair to the candidate. And so I come to the defense of that because I ran it up the chain and said, is this true or isn't this true? Went right to the source and found out it is absolutely not true. So one thing that happened when President Trump endorsed Tudor was he said, I want to make sure that you're going to choose a candidate that I could support. And if you remember in the interview, she said, I have already talked to people on the Trump's team. You can go back and watch that again. And they are going to help and assist me as I choose people, as I look for my platform, whatever it is. And so when it came to the lieutenant governor's search, many people asked me, who do you think it should be? Have you thrown out any names? Has anybody asked you any names? I didn't want to provide any names. It's not my responsibility to provide any names. I have no ability to do background checks or check into who they really are. And that's not where I live. What I wanted to do is make sure that they followed the plan they said they would. And that was to make sure that this choice was going to be supported by President Trump. If he supported it and he looked into it and he supports that candidate, that is more than enough for me. And I know that it's more than enough for the majority of you. And so that's where I sat. That's where I sat, I should say. So when this decision came last Friday, the first thing that I wanted to know through the process is, have we followed that process? And I found that, yes, it was true that the team, people around President Trump, had indeed been talked to, filled in, given input, and had indeed given a stamp of support on the choice of the Lieutenant Governor, Shane Hernandez. So in the interview, you're going to find the answers to all of those questions. And I shared all of that with you up until now because just breaking, which I'll be posting, but I love to break news. And for some of you, this won't be breaking news because you might have already somehow gotten your hands on it or seen it posted somewhere. But I've got to go here to find it on my phone because I haven't even downloaded it yet. So we have today, August 22nd, 2022. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States, and I'm just going to read it to you. Tudor Dixon must defeat Gretchen Whitmer in November. I have talked to Tudor about the race and her choice for the running mate, Shane Hernandez. Since then, I have checked and found him to be an outstanding person. In fact, he was named Michigan's most conservative legislator and is strongly committed to election integrity. The MAGA movement should support the ticket. This is who Tudor wants, and therefore Shane is who I want as your next lieutenant governor. This is who Tudor Dixon wants, and therefore I just read that to you. I want it. It's a two-pager, so that's where I'm getting it. The radical left, Democrats, and fake news media demand that Republicans be divided. We must work together to defeat them, and in particular, Gretchen Whitmer. Tudor and Shane are committed to securing Michigan's elections, fighting against the radical indoctrination of our children, saving the Second Amendment, being tough on crime, and working to bring jobs back to Michigan that are badly needed after the horrible term of the current liberal Democrat governor. All Republicans must unite and work hard for Tudor and Shane. Also, never forget about our great Attorney General candidate, Matt DePerno, and our wonderful Christina Caramo for Secretary of State. The MAGA movement in Michigan is stronger than ever, and we must make Michigan Trump red in November. Always remember America first. From the President of the United States. I'm hoping that as this information gets disseminated and you watch a video of Shane Hernandez and his background and his story, that we can begin focusing on the enemy. I've had some people over the last 24, 48 hours deny what I tried to claim was happening and also deny where we were as a party and where they came from and what they stand for. And I shared this over there, but I'm going to share it here because I think everybody needs to hear it. As a leader of a grassroots organization, our responsibility is to provide you as truthful and as accurate of information as we possibly can. Are we going to make mistakes? Of course we are. Are we going to make errors in judgment? Of course we are. But if indeed we see things floating around or questions were asked, we're going to try and get through to the sources closely as we can to provide you with that information so that you can make informed decisions. We're not intending, nor do we wish to make any decision for you. Like with the governor candidates, what other organization provided interviews to all of the five, letting them tell their stories, sharing the information, not leading you one way or the other, but telling you, again, as we got closer, that 60% of you were going to be voting for someone other than our nominee? That was what we call providing you with reality as part of leadership. In other words, we want to give you the information and let you make your own decision, but we also want you to be abreast or aware of the consequences of those decisions and what is likely the outcome. What reality do we live in? For instance, we live in a reality right now, and we have for several weeks, that Tudor Dixon is our candidate, period. She is the one who is the only one who could replace Gretchen Whitmer. That's where we are. Now, some people would say, oh, I'm going to vote for a third party. I'm not going to vote at all because I can't support her. I just read you a message from the President of the United States. That's clearer than any message you've seen from him in regard to this ticket since this ticket was joined together, since the endorsement, more so than that. And it's the entire ticket. It's Tudor and it's Shane. And it's what President Trump wants. It's what he wants to lead us through. And it isn't because it's just President Trump. I'm telling you, if they're not conservative, if they aren't looking into it, they certainly are doing more than we are. And anybody you happen to be listening to or seeing, I can tell you it's coming from either the left, it's infiltrated through people's groups, it's misinformation to divide us, and we need to stop the division. Now, am I telling you to go to convention if you are one of these delegates and go there and support the ticket entirely if for some reason there's somebody you want to support or you can't vote for them? Of course I'm not. That's why we have a convention. What I'm here to do is provide you with the information so you make an informed decision. And when I throw it out there without things like this statement to back it up, people go, he doesn't have any idea what, there always are people second guessing. All I am saying is right now we have to start focusing on our enemy. We need lots of money. We need unity. And this convention should be a springboard for us to talk about our platform, to celebrate our Secretary of State, Christina Caramo, to celebrate our candidate for Attorney General that's going to replace Nessel and Matt DePerno, to celebrate the conservative platform and ticket that is Trump supported, endorsed, and asked you to support for Tudor Dixon and Shane Hernandez in order to defeat Whitmer, Nessel, and Benson in November. After that, you have a decision to make, your own decision. And it's why you run to be a delegate. But again, all I am asking you is for you to have all of the information. And so the interview is going to provide you with a backdrop and, more importantly, the ability to share with others around you what is the truthful information. Share the video. Again, before you go as a delegate, all I ask you to do, it was like voting. All I ask you to do is watch the interview with Shane before you cast your ballot on Saturday. And then in addition to that, I want you to read President Trump's statement. And if after all of that, you want to vote for somebody else, more power to you. It is a free country. And I am not asking you to do anything beyond what you feel in your heart and your mind and what God's telling you to do. What I don't want and will not accept is that I stood aside and watched rumors, innuendo, individuals, groups, right, left, whatever it is, that are trying to provide you with distractions and misinformation in order for you to do what they want you to do. That's all. Now, when I do that, I make certain people angry. Today, just today, I have people that are saying Stand Up Michigan isn't what it is. We're not grassroots enough. We're establishment people, whatever. It's craziness because I'm connected to all the grassroots. I'm galvanizing many of the grassroots. I'm providing reality. I'm not telling you what I want or how conservative I want our state to be. I'm sharing with you our state is not red. It's not. Our state currently is purple and maybe slightly blue. But we have to be an umbrella party. And guess what? We don't have to come anywhere far. All we have to do is stay away from socialism, and they should join our party. They can be liberal and join our party. They can be old school Democrat and join our party. We have to be inclusive, and we can't tell somebody, you're not conservative enough, we don't want you. We're not conservative enough, we won't vote for you. Because eventually those people that are new get involved, and they end up saying, Why is it that we can't accept people for who they are? Why is it that they aren't good enough for them? And I don't have an answer for that. All I can ask you and say to you is look at our current circumstance, the reality in which we live. And I do want to share with you, I shared it on the other platform, but I'm going to share it anyway. Had to do with leadership. And it said the challenge in leadership is to see life as it is, challenge in leadership is to see life as it really is and keep your heart fully engaged. What they're saying here as they read through it is that you have to be willing to tell people the reality in which we live, but you also need to open your heart and understand where other people exist. Just like I say in our care component, we have to reach people where they are. It's like in church, you meet sinners where they are. If you go into a bar, you don't hold up a Bible, tell everybody to go into hell, you're not going to get a lot of people saved. In the same way, you can't bring them into your party and demand them to understand things the way you do. Understand right to life, Second Amendment. What you've lived there, either in your cause or you've lived in your organization. But other people aren't going to be in that same place at the same time, making the decisions you are at the same pace you are. Therefore, we have to bring people in and we have to educate, inform them, provide them with leadership, and I say direction, and then also support them in their decisions and provide them what they need. The other thing that I wanted to mention here was sometimes it says, instead of rather than trying to unite the crowd, you need to start by uniting the core. You hear from the fringe, but you lead from the core. When I read this the other day, I was thinking that, and they give some examples and percentages, so I'll share those with you, but you are the core. The people who follow and will spend, 20 minutes, 30 minutes listening to me babble on social media are the core. Now, some of you are a core that are fringe on the conservative side, and you are I'm not conservative enough for you because I don't focus on this, or I accept people that we shouldn't expect because they're rhinos and whatever. I understand that. You are the fringe over here. That's not good, but there's nothing good or bad about being a fringe. We all are there at certain things. There's also a fringe. You need to understand when we talk about your engaging of your heart, understand there's a 10% fringe down here that are just dipping their toes in the water. Those single mothers, those business owners looking for a place to be. They've maybe even run for a precinct delegate. They don't know what they're doing, and they want to go down and be part and learn about being a part of a family and a group that unites around freedom and liberty. And they're expecting to come out of there energized and ready to go. They're not really looking for division. They're not really looking for you choose a side, and whichever one you're on, you're going to be for us or against us. That's not what we're supposed to be. But yes, we go through a process. I get it. But there's a 10% that are looking that like, hey, I'm going to dip my toe in, but if the water's too cold, I'm getting out. I don't want to lose those, and I don't want to lose the people over here on this fringe. But what I do understand is that core involves 30% in the middle that are the silent, committed majority. They don't comment a lot on here. They might put a little comment, they might do a reaction. Most of them don't comment. And then there are 50%, 50% that are those that are here, they want to be here, but they're not really committed to the cause the same way that maybe, certainly not the fringe, maybe not even that other middle. All I'm getting at is we have got to be an umbrella party. And honestly, we should be umbrella people as organizations. In your community, you have to do positive things for all the people in your community. Your heart has to reach everyone. Same in a church. Your heart has to reach everyone. Through education comes knowledge. Through knowledge comes wisdom. Through knowledge and wisdom comes, I believe, making the proper decisions that we need to get through life. Many of us have struggled with challenges over this last 2 years specifically. Many of us don't like where we are. And a lot of you out there were angered in 2020 because they didn't do more about the election, when in fact in 2018 we elected Nessel Benson and Nessel. We passed the promote the vote by 67%. That means at least 20% of Republicans voted for it. That was the reality in which we live, not the reality we want to exist. We all want unity, but at times unity comes through division. I get that. But let's Let's focus on unity, and let's, instead of demanding people be where we are today, can we possibly open that up into providing them truthful information and letting them make informed decisions, letting their knowledge grow? This is not meant to be a philosophical discussion, but it's important because there are some of you that will choose to leave, not follow, not be a part of Stand Up Michigan. What I understand, and I have to live with that because my responsibility doesn't change. It's like telling your kids what they want to hear or telling the kids what you think they should hear, but ultimately leaving the decisions to them. And I'm not saying your kids, just don't anybody pin that. I'm giving an example of saying we tell our kids, if you're going to take from this job and go to this job, just understand this is it. Because of our experience in life, we know what this means. It's just like if you go to convention and you choose someone besides the running mate that Tudor Dixon chose, like has been discussed all over social media a little bit these last few days. You have every prerogative to do that. But you also should do it with truthful, factual information and not through misinformation that's been provided to you by those that want to seek a different result. That's all. Give you the truthful information, let you make a decision. This interview provides you truthful information, and that statement from President Trump is as truthful and straight statement as you could have. But just understand, if you go there and a group of you vote, but if all of you, let's say all of you did, and we ended up with somebody else, just understand what the media is going to do with that and understand what it does to our ticket. And believe me, most of the people who win a nomination believe they should choose their running mate unless there's a problem, and there is no problem. I believe after I did not know Shane Hernandez. I've been on calls with Shane, but I've never been in a room with him that I can remember. If it was a big room. Don't know him personally at all. I learned a lot about him today. You're going to learn a lot about him when you watch the interview. And I can tell you he's done more and fought harder from conservative principles before I did at a state level. I respect that. He put himself out there. He risked himself many times, and you're going to hear that too. So give him an opportunity to be heard. And I would just ask for you that are delegates to go in there looking for an experience, looking for freedom and liberty, and our group coming together. The great thing is we now have the majority. Hundreds and hundreds of Stand Up Michigan people and other grassroots organizations, leaders or people, members, ran for precinct delegate and were elected. And during that process, understand that that means we have now taken over some counties, county after county after county across the state. And my question to all of you after this philosophical lesson is, what kind of leader do we want to be? What kind of leader do we want to be? Do we want to be exactly what we claimed the other side was? The establishment wanted delegates who weren't elected, appoint who they wanted, tell them what to do when they got there. That's what we were supposedly replacing. Now we have people that we've brought in, and there are people hoping that they also aren't informed in whatever and will do what they're told when they get there. And I have a real problem with that because I want to ask you, is that not exactly the same thing, just a different group? Maybe different causes, different focus, different goals. But it isn't one any better than the other. And my question always is when you get leadership, when you become a captain, when you are there in that position, I really want to know then what you do with it. I feel like our responsibility as leaders now is to take this and bring in more and more people wherever they are to inform and educate them. By the way, people with differing opinions than we have, people who have knowledge in areas that we may not have it, people who have life experiences maybe different than those that we've experienced. And through that, we all become better people. We never will give up our principles, our core principles, our constitutional rights and freedoms. We're not going to go there. We're not going to give up our godly principles or what our country was founded on. We won't go there. But when it comes to other issues, don't judge people on how so-called conservative, how grassroots, how MAGA. I'm throwing it all out there. Look at the person, look at their heart. And let's try and make us and our party a real grassroots organization, not a fringe organization. Remember, the more fringe we become, even if the fringe grows, you're going to lose that 50% at the bottom. They're not going to stick around. It's how we act, how we react. That's going to be the story. Uh, we've come a long way in 2.5 years. We got a long way to go between now and November. And we've got to defeat these amendments, abortion amendment and the promote the vote amendment. Uh, I also am personally a no on the term limit extension. I just don't see giving legislators at this point double the amount of time in the House or 50% more. I know that there are many people around that believe, and principally, I believe that institutional knowledge is important. But at this point in time, I believe that we need to settle in. We need to continue to recruit from within. We have larger pools of very talented, very educated, intelligent, freedom loving people that I believe we can continue to run that cycle and do it effectively. I feel like we can. So I think we need to go a while before we're going to add and make people have 12 years to decide what they want to do with us. It's just my opinion. So, delegates, again, you all have the ability to vote for whoever you want on Saturday. Um, all I ask is watch the video before you do. And if you hear or you see on texts, emails, social media, information that you know after watching this interview not to be true, just share the link to the interview and say, hey, why don't you watch this? A lot of it's filled with documents. I actually read from documents from the letter asking for a forensic audit. He tells some stories about his life. And we do also some quotes from organizations that are supporting him and what he has obviously voted to do when he was in the legislature. So um, I don't want to make this long. I'll see if there's a few questions in here. I didn't see a lot in the way of questions yet, but I'm just going to see here. Yes, and I understand. As I mentioned, 60% of the people, Tudor Dixon was not their first choice, and I totally understand that. In the same way, I think that many of those, I was shocked. I think all 5 of those candidates would have made a 10 times better governor than we have. And they would have been much more conservative than I think we've seen. Rick Snyder was not a conservative. He might have even was he conservative? I don't even know. I think he may have been a I don't think Rhino. He is what he was. I think he was more of a Democrat, honestly, or Blue Dog of some kind. All I'm saying is he wasn't conservative. Before that, we had 8 years of none other than Jennifer Granholm. So we got to go all the way back to Engler in 89 or 90. And before that, it was Milliken in 69. I know I shared some of that before, but I want to share it, put it in perspective. And I believe that we are going to have a very conservative ticket. And I just want you all to know that I appreciate each and every one of you. And this was some big news tonight. I did come on again unannounced, and I'm going to post that statement from the president here. I kind of knew that it was going to be coming, but I did not know that it was going to be coming this quickly, and I am grateful, and I look forward to seeing many of you potentially on Saturday. For those of you that aren't part of a convention, you're lucky ones, and I'm kidding, but honestly, let's focus on these initiatives. Get involved in your local communities, and share the video if you will. I appreciate each and every one of you, and remember, the best of America is yet to come. Have a great evening.